Greetings. I welcome you again to this second episode of the grief series, and I'm doing it in the very time I set aside to think about my mother. I'm glad that I'm able to do this because by then I just used to keep preoccupied. I wouldn't do anything, but right now at least I can decide to do other things, though, because of avoiding to overthink and so much be overtaken in worry. So I decided to set aside a certain hour every day to think about her and to deal with whichever emotion that is coming along. It may not make sense to someone who is still new in this journey, but as time goes on, you find that the journey becomes lighter, and that's where I wish that you go. You see, very many people, especially the whites, I've seen them when their loved one dies. They set up memorial things like a charity event, or they can decide to build a hospital, or some I have a friend who built a borehole in a certain village. All this was done to celebrate the life of their loved one that was taken away. Now me, when I look at myself, I may not have any money to do any of those, but however, I have something that I feel it is important also if I decide to give it out to my community, of course as a service to God, but also to serve my community. I believe my mom suffered a lot, had a lot of issues with mental related issues, and what can I do? At least now I understand, and I don't want to waste this pain. This pain has been too deep in a way that it was too deep. It has been too deep. It is becoming lighter, but it is still there. I'm still struggling with finding meaning here and there, but at least I don't want to waste it. I want to do something out of this pain. And what else can I do apart from serving God and serving humanity? So that's why I am making this series, especially in her memory. Of course, some of you who know me, you know about the Magazine Counseling and Wellness Center, which was named after her name, Margaret, our name, because it is also my name. So I pray that God helps me, and I believe that through this series, through these videos, you can learn a few things, or you can help someone else in case you're sharing or anything like that. So to take you back a little, the last time we talked about the introduction, what grief is, the responses, and the stages you're supposed to go through. And I talked about so much the feelings, the feeling responses towards grief. And I also talked about the physical sensations, and I also talked about the mental cognitions, the thought patterns that you're likely to go through when you're grieving, especially, for example, the disbelief, especially at the beginning of the journey when someone has just died. You're likely to say, I can't believe it, I don't believe it happened, especially if the death was sudden. Like in the case of my mother, I never knew she was sick. I was just told she's gone. Like how I kept in disbelief for some good time. The confusion, the preoccupation, like being obsessive with thoughts and images of the disease, dying or suffering. By the way, have you discovered that really you can have someone you've never posted on your walls or on your social media, but the moment you hear they are dead, then you find the whole of your the whole of your social media account is full of this person? That is preoccupation, and it is a normal response to grief. Others feel their disease is still around or is somewhere. Thoughts like, if for example the person who has died is a spouse, someone can think at that moment, I will never find love again. Who will love me like this person was doing? Like such things, such triggers, or such kind of thought patterns can trigger very intense but normal feelings of sadness and anxiety. I also talked about the behaviors, the sleep disturbances, the appetite, absent-mindedness, restlessness, the social withdrawal. And here I remember I want to emphasize that here someone who has just lost a loved one has lost a sense in the outside world. And if you are a friend and had plans together, please try to be patient and understanding. If possible, adjust these programs. It's not advisable to keep on pressurizing, to wonder why are they not turning up. Please try to understand this journey is too much. Some things you may never understand until you go through them. I don't wish you to go through this, but that's why I'm making this, so that in case you are near a loved one or any friend or family member who is going through this, so you can try to understand why they are behaving the way they are behaving, especially in this time. The dreams of the deceased, it is much more likely that you will have dreams. I had dreams about mom many times, and I'm glad by then I had started therapy, and I would ask my therapist, I had this dream, and then she would say it's okay, like with time they will go on reducing. But also some, according to your attachment style, some can avoid reminders of the deceased, yet others will keep preoccupied about them. For example, when mom had just gone, I couldn't get off her picture. I used to keep with it. I wanted to hug it. I wanted to, yet my young brother never wanted to see anything. Actually, he told me, I'm going to block you if you don't stop posting about mom. So depending on your attachment style, you can either avoid any places, objects, or things of the deceased or that remind you of the deceased, or you can become preoccupied with them. The searching and the calling out, wow, this was so hard for me, because the more I got in yearning, the more I used to call out, mom, 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 please, where are you? Please come back, please, I'll do this time, I'll do this. So it is normal, the crying. And when you feel like crying, please cry. Don't stop the tears. I used to only stop them when I was in public, for example. But whenever I had time and I'm home, I would let the tears shed. Like, don't stop them. When you feel them, please let them be. Crying has potential healing properties, like it releases the chemical toxins of stress and restore that emotional balance. So please, when you feel like crying, cry. Did things of men don't cry? I encourage you, if you feel the pain and you feel like crying, please cry. Rules are there to be broken. That thing of culture, men don't cry, does not work in some of these. Grief may resemble depression, but they are different. So try to find out, if your loved one is grieving, is it still normal, or they are going into depression? And if you find out that they are going into depression, please seek out help or try to help them. In grief, the world looks poor and empty. For example, I used to move around and I feel like I wasn't existing, nothing was normal. And actually, I was getting annoyed when I would see others walking or others posting their parents. I would feel so angry, like, why are they even existing? Like, such things. The world feels empty, but in a depression, you as a person, you feel empty, poor, like it's internal. With depression is your image about yourself, but with normal grief, it is the world. So when you see in your loved one such differences, please try to help them get out this. So I want this time to talk about the mediators of mourning. Like, you've had, like, well, death is death. Whether who has died or what, there will be pain. But there are major individual differences. For some, grief is very intense, while others, it is mild. For some, grief starts at the time they hear of the death, yet others, it is a delayed experience. Like, someone can seem okay and normal at that period, but then later on, you see them starting to break down. Yet for some, grief is short term, like 1 month or 2 months, and someone is very okay. Yet to others, it goes on forever or for some long time. So what brings the difference? Why does someone die and you feel so much pain, yet another one die and you feel like it's okay? People die every day. What brings the difference? One of the things is who the deceased was to you. The person who died, Who was he or she to you? Now, the loss of a distant cousin or an auntie or a distant grandparent will be grieved differently from the loss of a spouse, a child, or a parent. You can be like, okay, I've lost my cousin, my aunt, but depending on the level of your relationship, who was she to you or who was he to you? Were you very close friends? Were you like, what was your relation? Who was that person to you will determine how much you grieve and for how long. For example, now I want to give you I've ever lost a sister, but I grieved for 2 to 3 months there, and the pain was averagely there. I was feeling pain, but it has not been as deep as this one. What brought the difference? It is because of who the person was to me. We may lose a parent, for example. In this case, our mother was gone, but even among the children, there is a child who lost a best friend. There is a child who lost how can I call it, a reading partner. There is a person, a child who lost an investment partner. There is just those differences. We could have both lost a father, but each child among us had a different relationship with him, and so the hopes and expectations. So who the person was, you may wonder, why is this person taking long? Like everybody is pained. Yes, everybody's pained, but depending on who that person was to this kind of person, to this mourner, to the bereaved, depends on how much they will grieve and for how long. Okay, the nature of the attachment. What was its strength? Grief intensity is determined by the intensity of love. How much did you love this person? How much, like, what was the nature? What was the security of this attachment? How necessary the disease was to the sense of well-being of you. Like, for example, somebody has lost a spouse, and wherever they would move, they would be called Mrs. So and so. And now this person has to move alone, like taking in a new term, widow. Now you expect, of course, this person to have a different kind of grief from another person who lost an uncle, yet they lost the same person. The ambivalence in the relationship. Ambivalence, I mean the coexistence of the negative and the positive feelings. Where the negative feelings coexist in equal proportion with the positive feelings. And here, grief is likely to be more difficult. Now, just imagine. Of course, nobody is perfect. Like, we have conflicts with everybody. But depending on, there is a person you feel you love too much, yet at the same time, they have a person who annoy you too much. So here, when you're grieving, you have these feelings at the table, like, yet at the same time, you loved this person so much, and yet you had those negative feelings, like they could annoy you. So somehow you have to deal with the anger feelings, what they did to you or what they did not do, and at the same time mourn the love you have with them. Did you have any conflicts, unfinished business with the disease that were never resolved? Now, I remember the last time I had a call to mom. It was not a very nice one. Now, imagine at that moment, like, you're told she's gone. Like, so what exactly am I dealing with here? The confusion, the pain, the anger, the guilt, etc. So the nature of the attachment. Was it a dependent relationship? Just imagine you were depending on this person, or I was depending on this person for food, for school fees, and all that. In my case, I had finished school. I was, not working, but at least I was able to feed myself. Now, there is a child among us who was depending on her for food, for clothing, for everything. So if we are grieving, depending on the relationship, the nature of attachment, this person who was dependent on the deceased is likely to take longer and find it difficult to adjust to the new world without the deceased. Then another thing, how the person died. Were you near when they died? Now just imagine somebody who took care of this person and was there and saw them breathing their last, and you who was just called to, like somebody told you, hey, so and so has gone. Now as I am having my own feelings because I was far, but then there is someone who is struggling with the image of the deceased breathing their last. I hope you try to understand, like this person, the kind of intensity at that moment, the pain could be a little bit different from the person who did not see, like who was not there, who did not take care of them. Was it a sudden death or unexpected, or there was some signs? You see, when somebody falls sick for some long time, you have some hope that either they will come back or they may not. But for someone who just died, like he didn't hear anything, like she's sick or he's sick, or they just fell and dead. Now for you to deal with this kind of pain, you may take long time in disbelief than the person who was actually there when this person was sick. Or for example, like it might be different with the person who fell sick for some long time, and of course, like you expected, this person may not come. Was it a preventable death? Because when someone, you've tried your best, you've treated this person and the person does not improve, it is completely different from the person who died from a simple accident. Like that would have been prevented. If somebody had malaria the other night and you said, we shall go to hospital tomorrow, and before tomorrow comes, the person is gone, you're going to deal with guilt, with blame, and you're likely to feel you are a culprit in this person's death. Was it ambiguous? There are people who just go missing, so you're not sure whether the person has died or not, so you're just there in confusion. Is it a stigmatized death? For example, suicide. Did the person commit suicide? Did the person die of AIDS? Here social support may be less sufficient because you may not talk about such issues. So depending on how the person died, it will somehow affect or influence the way you grieve, the intensity, and how long. Then we also have previous losses. For example, if you lost another person and then you did not grieve well that person, and before that person is well grieved, another person goes, like what has been happening in Corona time. This person dies before you even before you comprehend the death, then another person has died. So these multiple death losses at the same time may affect the mental health of a person, so that by the time the person dies, like the person, it is too much. You feel someone is just breaking down. Availability of concurrent stresses. If somebody was struggling financially and then a loss has come, somebody had lost a job or had lost a relationship, was in a disappointment, and then loses a person. So all these ones, like these factors affect how much someone will grieve and for how long. The personality of a person. Even you know that you who are different from me, from another person. My coping style. What is my coping style? Am I a person who is optimistic or pessimistic? What is my age and my gender? Women, of course, grieve more than men, but doesn't mean that the pain of men is less than that of women. Okay, like a child has lost a parent, but at the age of 4, 5, 6, they may not really comprehend what is going on than a person who is already understanding. And many other factors. With insecure attachment, your ability to handle stress is less sufficient. I'll talk about the attachment style, the insecure and secure some other times. Rumination over the loss may be high, and excessive pain may be handled by avoidant behavior, depending on your attachment style, e.g. avoiding reminders of the loss, and that's what I've been doing. But God is helping me out. Then the social variables. Grieving is a social phenomenon, and the need to grieve with others is also important. The degree of my perceived emotional and social support. Now, of course, when the person has just died, there are a lot of people there. You may not really feel it, but after people have gone 2 weeks to a month, there when people are going back to their time, to their work, to their families, and then you have to remain alone. Unfortunately, like when a person is trying to understand what they have lost, for example, here you may just say, I lost a husband, but then, or I lost a wife. Okay, it is a loss, you grieve. But then with time, you actually realize that you lost more than that. Or in a wife, there was a playmate this person used to play with. There was, in this very person, there is an exercise partner somebody used to go out and exercise with. A cook, like you will never cook for yourself, and now how here you have to cook. But also, if you're a married person, you've lost a sexual partner. Now all those things may not come very clear to you at the beginning of death or at the time of death, but with them you start realizing that I've actually lost this. For example, when mom died, I just thought I had lost a mom, but actually I realized I had lost a home too. Like it becomes, I don't know how to call it, but that's what it is. So the social support is very important, and that's why I'm really reaching out to you again and telling you, if you're doing anything to reach out to the grieved, may God bless you. You have no idea how much you're helping, because social support may help in grieving, may lessen the pain, may ease the pain of this person, may try to lighten up this journey of grief. No wonder the Bible says that it is better to go to the house of the mourning than the house of the feasting. Now, I now understand it. By then, I used just to read that verse, but there are those times when you feel so lonely, with a number of emotion, thoughts, and all you feel is, I wish there was someone. And by the way, before I conclude on this point, I want to tell you, the person who is grieving, there are people whom you feel like their word would make a lot of sense. Their comfort, their hug, their presence would make a lot of sense to you. But those people, honestly, may never be there for you at that moment. And it's not because they are bad. No, it could be because of really serious reason, like they have to work and you have to understand, or they can't bear to see you in pain, and they can't just bear to see you sad, so they decide to just be away until you're fine. Or they could just be minding other things, like they have other endeavors to work on. So if there are these people you really feel, without them or without their presence I will continue crying, my dear, you might cry forever. So I'm trying to tell you that accept the social support that is available. Okay, there are people whom I expected, these ones will come, these ones will be there, but they were not. And so what do I have to do about that? But there are those who were there. So I just have to be grateful to God that even though some were not there, but others were there, and you have to understand. So do not tie your healing or your happiness on anybody. Accept what is available and move on with that. Now, there are phases of mourning. Others say, the others call them stages. But you see, the problem with stages is people do not pass through stages in separation with certain order. Because now somebody will say you're angry, bargaining, what, and then acceptance later. But you realize that at one point I'm bargaining with God, please bring my mom back, and then at another point I say, okay, I'll never see her again. So like there is no that order, but however they are there, there are stages of grief. But what I want to really call them, or the better approach I feel good to use for myself, is what I can call phases, like a certain passivity, something you, the mourner, or your loved one who is mourning your friend, must pass through. Here, there is nothing like you're going to avoid. You have to go through them. But the difference is the time you take in one phase may be different from the time you take in another phase. For example, phase number one is numbness. When that person has really died at that very moment, like at the time of the loss, usually you will go numb. You don't have anything to say, you'll have nothing to feel or nothing. You're just there, not thinking, not feeling. You're just there, confused, sad, and everything. And then this, as I already told you in the first video, that this process, this phase of numbness helps you not to be overwhelmed with those thoughts. God created us in such a loving manner that when you feel it is too much, your mind can go off and some thoughts will be handled later. But this numbness may belong to a person who has experienced a sudden death of a loved one than someone who has had time to nurse and they expected the death to happen. I'm not saying that is the case. Actually, you may not even realize your need, but at least it will happen. You will have to go through it at one point. But how much time you take in it will differ depending on the factors we've talked about. The second phase is yearning. Yearning for the lost one to return, and tends to deny the permanence of the loss, yearning for that person to return. Now here, I don't know, I've been in this phase, I don't know for how long. Probably I'm still in it, but I have hope that soon things will be fine. I will get over it. But that yearning, I told you last time, I had never felt this kind of connection. But this time I come with yearning for a mom, for a motherly figure. And all I was doing is call out, mom, mom, mom. Like this time I thought if I could just get one hug from her or one word or, something like that. Now, this yearning, you'll go through it. I don't know how long you will take in it, but trust me, you'll go through it. And when you go through it, it is normal. I can't really imagine. I don't want to talk about the married people, like this yearning if you have lost a spouse. But even then, I believe God is there with you in that moment. And in this stage, anger is an important feeling. Here you're feeling very angry. You're yearning for this person, but you're not able to have them. You're not able, you feel, oh my God, if you ever given a chance to do anything different, this time you do it well, you not have any quarrels, you just do your best. But unfortunately, death in this life is not returnable. You cannot undo them unless in the life to come. But it is normal. It is normal. I've gone through it. I'm still going through it, but I have hope that God is taking me through and is working with me through this journey. The third phase is disorganization and despair. You will be there. You find it so difficult to function in the environment. You don't want to talk to anybody. You don't want to wake up. You're just there. I remember the people whom I felt like they are stressing me, and I had to tell them, you know what, let's postpone our relationship. You're just disorganized, okay? And it is normal. Please, if you're near any loved one who is going through grief, please understand that there is a moment when they would be disorganized and they will be in despair. You feel you want someone, but you can't have them. You have to accept. It is hard to accept, but it is normal. If you're there and you're supporting this person, all you can do is be there. Provide the acceptance and the support they need. And the last phase is reorganization. This is where you begin to pull your life together. I don't know whether, well, but I pray God will make things happen. Yeah, you try to find meaning. I'm really still struggling to find meaning, but I've just decided that I will not waste this pain. I'm going to use it to serve God and to serve humanity, and that's why I'm giving you these videos. It's not a form of counseling, but you see, when you go through something, when you already know it, there is a way you're not taken by surprise. And that's all I can do for now. With time, I don't know how long it will take you, but you will find that at least you can find meaning. You're able to do some things yet and also live your life. You're able to pull back yourself and go on in living in a life without your loved one. I really hope and pray that this phase, this grief will be shorter, and soon or later you'll reach this phase of reorganization. Don't pressurize yourself. Don't think, why am I not pulling myself back like others? Give yourself time to grieve. As I told you, you are unique, you're special, you're just yourself. So do not move because others are moving. Give yourself time and go through whatever you're feeling. In the next video, I'm coming back with the tasks and some of the things you can do to lighten this journey, to ease the pain. So for now, I wish you well. Let me leave you here to think about it. I pray that God will visit you in this pain. Do not despair. God knew it would happen, and He trusted you with this pain that you can go through it and become victorious. So do not try to deny your faith. Do not doubt God. Yes, I understand it is hard, but with God, you shall go through it. I didn't know I'll reach this stage. I didn't know I'll stand and talk about her without breaking, but here I am. By God's grace, I am able to make this video. So I don't know what you're going through. I can't tell you that I can imagine. I only know what I am going through myself. I'm not even able to realize what my siblings or any other person is going through. But however, I am just giving you this experience. I don't know how it can help you in one way or another, but even if it may not, I know God will help you. So please, for anyone still who is helping out the bereaved, the deceased, the bereaved, may God bless you. Continue reaching out to them. It's a hard process. It's a hard journey. Availability of social support here eases pain and reduces chances of developing depression. So instead of you being there and telling this person to stop crying, to stop, to move on, to do what, please try to understand. Let them go through the pain they are going through. The other time when I went for therapy, I was trying to rush through and I was wondering, the pain is too much. This therapist of mine does not understand how it's painful. And I just wanted to be okay in a rush. And she told me, you know what, Maggie, with psychology, you cannot rush through things. We have to bring back this pain. You relieve it so that you can release it. So if you're near someone who is grieving, do not pressurize them to get fine. Of course, I understand your dilemma and you want to feel okay, like you want to see them happy, yes, but give them some time to go through this pain with your support. Of course, when you feel that you have anything to say, you can say it. Of course, it must be a word of encouragement, of hope. This will be over, this will be done, okay, any other thing the Lord will give you to speak to that person. But do not pressurize them to get numb, like somebody's crying and you said don't cry. Please let them cry. That is the only way to release that pain. If they're, just be there. You can try to be there to provide that support without you trying to interfere, or if you feel you're out of words, you can just be there and provide yourself without saying anything. It is important. So I leave you with the Lord once again. Till next time, I'm coming with the final video, and may God bless you. Amen.